If you're tired of not making progress and you're ready to be the artist you know you're meant to be, you're in the right place. You're listening to the Singer's Path podcast. The Path, or Performing Artists Training Hub, will cover everything, including singing tips that actually work, advice from top industry professionals, and life-changing mindset shifts. Out with the starving artist and in with the thriving artist. I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, professional singer, actor, educator, and entrepreneur. I'm not afraid to speak the truth and stop the gatekeeping of quality information so you can actually become the artist you dream of being. So let's get on the path, shall we? Even though we're all on our own journeys, it always helps to have a guide.
Hello. Welcome back to the Singer's Path podcast. It is me, Sarah. I am wearing my Twilight t-shirt because I just got in a weird mood and I wanted to coach some Twilight songs on YouTube. I was feeling weird. I just wanted to do it. So, all in my Twilight garb and all for y'all on YouTube. You can always see that brilliant essence that I'm emanating today. Today I wanted to start to talk about leaning into more of these themes of business for artists and why this matters so much. So we're going to start today talking about business mindset for artists and start to peel back some of the sticky layers that really exist for a lot of people that are trying to work professionally and really come up against money blocks a lot, and how this can really end up killing their dream in the long run. And so on today's topic, right, it's summertime as I'm recording this right now. I'm not sure when this is being released. But I wanted to speak to some levels of elements that are necessary for artists, whether it's a singer or an actor or anyone, to have some level of success. And I wanted to today touch base on the whole where we're like clamping down on blaming Nepo babies from taking jobs from people. And I really want to unpack that a little bit and just open some discussion around this. Because overall, I think it comes from a place of people getting really frustrated that they feel like opportunities are outside of their control. They see people that have famous parents or connected industry parents getting jobs, and it becomes almost this like hopeless prospect. Like, how am I ever going to do that when these people have these connections, have money? And that's what I wanted to talk about, the mindset around this and how we can pivot and actually maybe become our own money daddy, somehow, so that we can continue to actually pursue our dream and make it come true. So, the first thing I want to point out is focusing on it being so out of your control isn't really helping you all that much. We just ran an inevitable artist activation challenge in the summer here. And in this challenge, it was all about choice. And listen, before you get all triggered, I know there are people that come from many different backgrounds, that have many different privileges. Okay, so that's not to erase or say that that doesn't exist. And at the end of the day, if you're going to water it all down, mindset like matters a lot. And who you're choosing to be matters a lot. And in this activation, we really, really broke down how each person can make choices based off of what's actually good for them. And when you complain about Nepo babies having all of the money, or taking all of the jobs and all of that, what are you actually choosing? Who are you choosing to be in that situation when you're continuing to give that lip service over and over again? What it actually gives us is this sense of community and and this is going to sound harsh, but it's true, this sense of victimhood and othering, right? So I am someone that isn't an Nepo baby and you are a Nepo baby. So that gives me control and understanding around why something might not be going my way. And it also gives me, this sense of like righteousness to ban up against, people that have the connections and the money. I used to do this. Okay. I used to cling on to this, but it was this really kind of weird way for my brain to distract itself from actually taking control over how much power I actually did have. When people are hyper fixating on this, it actually strips them of their power. Okay? It sometimes can be your brain choosing to focus on certain things that actually aren't serving you or aren't helping you in order to actually keep you in the same loop that you are repeating over and over again, right? And again, if that sounds like wild and crazy, we dive into that a lot more in the Inevitable Artist Activation. I think I'll link it below if you want to check it out. Like, you can do it whenever. It's just sometimes we have like live calls associated with it. Right now, it's not like active, but you can still do it. It's a 14-day challenge, and it will really help you decipher like how your thought patterns and who you're choosing to be and how that's actually stopping you from getting where you go. And so you might be like, Sarah, why do you keep saying choice, choice, choice? Like, why are you saying like who you choose to be? Well, one of the things about pulling focus away from things that are maybe giving you a sense of righteousness or possibly a sense of like feeling community and that it's hard, you're choosing to plug into that narrative when you're giving that so much lip service. So if you choose to do the opposite, say your choice is, I'm deciding that I am the kind of person that's the exception. I don't need to be a Nepo baby to have the success. I actually have control over my own narrative in how I'm thinking, how I'm acting, and how I'm choosing to carry forth in my life. Well, if I was choosing to be the person that already has this, would I be complaining about how many Nepo babies there are? No, I would not. Okay. That is not something that I would do if I already had the thing. Right. So it's all about putting yourself, like actively practicing putting yourself in the situation that what you want, right? I'm acting as if I already have this lead on Broadway. I'm acting as if I already have my album released and it's already worked out and I already have the audience. What is that version of you choose to do when you embody them? Most of the time, it's probably not that they're going to be bitching about how things are out of their control. Well, like the top 1% of people and the people that have a lot of success are very solution and action oriented. They don't get as spun up on the woe is me of it all. Like they see a problem and then they choose to either act on it or change their focus of it. Because simply put, they might not have a lot of time to dwell on that, or they're in a situation where it just doesn't make sense for them to dwell on things like that. So that's what I'm kind of inviting you to do is instead of bitching and complaining about how it's not fair, and I'm not saying that that's okay. Okay. I know sometimes when I post this online, people are like, well, it's just like you're blaming people for a system that's broken. I'm like, I didn't say it was their fault. I didn't say the system wasn't broken. I didn't say it was all kinds of fucked up. It is. Okay. We know that. Now, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to choose to function in the system? And here's what it comes down to. I think a lot of people are operating on this unconscious mindset that they are somehow victims in this loop of pursuing their art and everything's out of their control and it's hard. And it's like, okay, yeah, but you're like choosing to do this, right? You're choosing to operate in a system that you know is jacked up. So why would you choose to get stuck in the wash cycle or the dry cycle when there's other ways of looking at it? Like, and again, it comes down to this. What are you actually gaining by continuing to spin around and around on how hard and unfair it is? Okay? We can hold both. We can do multiple things. We can look at a system and go, wow, that's fucked up and we need to change it. And we can also hold ourselves to the highest version of selves that exists, see ourselves as worthy and whole and talented and capable. And then actually, if you move from that space, you're probably in a better headspace to actually do something about the system. You know what I'm about is actually getting artists who maybe weren't the Nepo babies, who weren't incredibly wealthy, but can show other artists that it's possible because it definitely is possible. And there are people who have done it. I want more of them. I want more hyper talented people in the spotlight. I don't want more Nepo babies getting all of the opportunities. Okay. I want you getting the opportunities. But that means that you're going to have to change how you're thinking about this and just how much you're bitching about it that is keeping you in a cycle that is actually making you stuck. Okay. So that's why we're addressing this. So ask yourself the question, what are you actually gaining by choosing to continue to bitch about how Nepo babies have everything you want. Like, genuinely, what are you getting? Again, it's probably a sense of righteousness. It's probably a sense of community. I've talked about how the starving artist narrative needs to leave because it is perpetuating a cycle of victim mentality. And it's perpetuating these effed up systems that are keeping people stuck. It's not showing artists how capable they are. Okay. It's the opposite. It is training them and inundating them with bullshit so that they never ask for what they're actually worth. Okay. They just should be happy to be there. All right. There's so much lack and limiting self beliefs for artists everywhere. So, this is one thing you can start to look at. Maybe we just stop bitching about Nepo babies. Okay. That doesn't mean we let them get away with it. We just do what we need to do and focus on our highest version of self and what they would choose to do. Keep your blinders on, take one step at a time. And then when you're in a position of power, then you can choose to not hire the Nepo babies. Okay. But it starts with you and your internal narrative because otherwise, you're just going to stay stuck and you're going to be staying on narratives where it just feels better to complain. Sometimes it does actually feel safer to complain about something because it feels like we're doing something even though we're not. We're just making ourselves feel bad and pulling ourselves out of, the greatness that we actually truly can be when we put most of our brain calories towards something that's actually worth our thoughts and our time. So anyway, that's the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about today is just invite this question of like, and not just Nepo babies, like where else are you bitching and moaning about pursuing your dream that's actually causing it to be pushed further away? Another popular one is when everybody just whines and complains about how they want auditions all the time. And then as soon as they get an audition, they complain about having the audition. So they feel like they're complaining about how they're not getting an audition, and then as soon as they get it, it's a problem and a crisis, and then they're pissed that they have to do it. Okay, why are you so angry? Isn't this what you wanted? Didn't you want more opportunities to make tapes and get in front of people? Do you even like acting? Do you like auditioning? If you don't like auditioning or self-taping and it's overwhelming to you, well, that's where you need to start because that's most of the job. Can we fall in love with the process of actually studying the skill? That's actually what's necessary in order to actually get further and stay practiced. I'm going to talk about this a lot in a different episode about how, like, hey, just having raw talent isn't enough. You actually have to practice said skill, okay? So that when you get the audition, you actually kind of like auditioning and then it's good. Like, you don't thwart the opportunity. You stand in your power and you just do what you've been practicing because you've been in class or you've been singing a lot and taking voice lessons or you have been in your audition technique group so that when the audition comes your way, like it just happens easily, okay? Now, again, so if you find yourself, another common one again is bitching and complaining about never having enough auditions or your representation, and then as soon as you get one, you're freaking out, you're spinning out, right? It's this big deal and you're complaining about having to do it. That's one that I used to do. We're not doing that anymore because again, if we're talking about choice, the version of me that has the gigs and that has success doing these auditions and can have fun doing these auditions and they lead to fruitful activities and events is not complaining about that. It's just not that big of a deal. My nervous system at that point is so regulated that it's just part of the job that I don't have to bitch and moan and make it such a big deal. I just sit down and do the work. And I also, like doing the work because that's the skill that I signed up for and I actually like doing it. Okay. So that's another example of catching like where the fuck you were messing yourself up. Another one that I've talked about, there's full episodes on this about how you are screwing yourself over is the eat the rich and the starving artist thing. I'm gonna just touch it. But if you're othering yourself from people with money, that's a problem because here is unfortunately the truth. And I've said this before, we're saying it again. When you're pursuing art professionally, you are a business, okay? Whether you like it or not, if you've decided that you want to make money from your art, you are an entrepreneur whether you consciously agreed to it or not. That's what you are. Your service is Sarah Bishop Incorporated or whatever your name is incorporated, okay? People that have lots of success with their art have corporations around them and their artistry. They pay teams under them to help keep this going, right? Taylor Swift Incorporated, okay? So the sooner that you can get on board with that idea, the better. But if you're still othering yourself because you think that people with money are bad people, then no matter how much you manifest till you're blue in the face, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. No, you ain't, bitch, because you're not going to be rich until you can get your brain to be on board with the fact that it's not going to make you an awful person to have the money. Your brain and your nervous system will 100% of the time push away anything that feels like it's going to lose your sense of self or your sense of community. Because when you lose your sense of community, which are the other artists who are bitching and complaining about Nepo babies and money and auditions, well, that means kind of death. Okay? That's what it means. Because we are wired as human beings through evolution to hold on to things that keep the people around us around. Okay. And if we are noticing that our identity is tied up in these tropes that are actually keeping us on this hamster wheel, if we start to change and speak out and be different to those, and it doesn't feel safe to be different from our community, then we run the risk of being pushed out and ostracized by said community. I, over the past year, in order to have the balls to talk about this, have had to do deep nervous system and subconscious work so that I feel safe enough to be like, fuck it, this matters more than any bitch not agreeing with me, because the real ones fucking know. The ones that have success with their business know that it isn't money or art. Money is just an energy that you need to actually fund your art, which is a business. Business needs funding. Okay. Your art needs funding. So while your money story is all kinds of fucked up, you're going to have to get on board with that. So notice, how are you talking about money? What is your relationship with money? That's going to be a huge indicator of why you feel like you're broke all the time and how you're so frustrated. And again, you're on this hamster wheel of comparing yourself to all the Nepo babies and all the people that have it, not having any money, being in survival mode. And then the final thing is complaining about how you can't afford to actually work on your skill. And this is the one that just triggers the people the most, because the truth is, everybody has lags and lulls in their auditioning, in their career, where they're not working for like kind of a long period of time. Okay. If you have not set yourself up to be able to continue making money in a way that works for you, okay? You don't like Nepo babies don't have to do this because they have, or rich people, right? They don't have to work. They have a financer for their business. If you don't have a financer for your business, you need to become your own financier. And before, people would say it's not possible, you can't do it, but it actually very much fucking is possible. And I'll tell you, because I've fucking done it. It took me 6 years to do it. Okay, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying I wasn't exhausted. I'm not saying that it's hard to juggle both. It definitely is. Okay, but it is possible. And because I created a business that was aligned to me, that helped singers, I felt a sense of fulfillment from helping and serving other people. I had to learn to make it work for me. For example, I was losing my voice because I was teaching so much, and that was actually sabotaging in the auditions that I had. I have to pivot into more content creation, actually managing a business so that I have more freedom to actually take gigs. All of this stuff I talked about in a different episode, like all of this is also true. But the truth of the matter is, I have a very flexible business where I call the shots, and I could honestly, at a drop of a hat, do a sale and get money if I need to take, get new headshots or take an acting course or do anything like that. Like, so I'm telling you, you don't have to become a voice teacher like me if that's not your bag. You can learn. The first step is to look at other skills you have, other things you like to do. Well, Sarah, I was always told, this is my only skill and this is what I focused in. Okay, so this skill has other skills. It really does. How you talk to people, how you communicate. is above average for the normal person. Your emotional intelligence, your ability to actually teach and connect with people. Most artists are like naturally good teachers. Your ability to be organized and diligent, understanding humans. Like those are all like legitimately money-making qualities. I swear to God. And if you're like, no, they're not. I have nothing I can do. Baby, you got to start looking at your worth, and you need to start like really examining your life and things that interest you and things that people tell you that you're good at, and start, being using more of that creativity to think outside the box so that you can make money for yourself in a way that is a little bit more creative. Okay? That's what gets my goat, right? Is and this is another thing, one of the things that people are keeping themselves stuck because they're focusing on the wrong thing here. Actors and artists are so freaking creative. And yet they just tell themselves all the time that that their skills aren't valuable and that they have no way of learning how to make money. Yes, you do. Arguably, you are probably the best people at learning how to make money because you think outside the box. You just have to apply it over here. Now, I can't tell you exactly what that's going to be because it's different for each person. But I swear to God, you guys are already business owners. And the minute you acknowledge that, the minute you will open yourself up to having business and other areas that might be more consistently lucrative to fund your ability to keep working on your skill. Okay? When people are complaining about how stuck they are, that they can't afford lessons and they can't afford acting coaching, and listen, I'm not telling you this because I need you to buy my shit. I'll obviously tell you some stuff that's going to help you, but I'm more trying to speak to people that are literally just they're stuck in the devil's snare, guys. It is just suffocating them, and it's suffocating their joy, and it's suffocating their dream because they're stuck in these loops because they're telling themselves these stories. And when I hear actors try to tell themselves like, "Oh, I know I need more skill," or they're like, "Well, why didn't they just give it to me?" And these might be internal thoughts. You might not be telling people, but this sense of entitlement, like, "Oh, I'm really talented. If it was supposed to be for me, it would just happen." Here's at the end of the day, here's the truth. If you're an actor or a singer, you need to be acting and singing consistently. Those are skills that if you are not keeping up with, else will pass you by. Okay? So, the sooner you can learn to finance continuing to develop the skill, the more skilled you become. Okay? And so then when the actual auditions come your way and you've been consistently practicing and you're not no longer bitching about an audition coming your way because it's overwhelming to you because you've been practicing so much, that's when it's going to become easier and you're actually going to preparation meets opportunity. But I think a lot of people think that if they're just going to like open calls and ECCs, that's actually hustling. I would much rather you be behind the scenes working on your skill and choosing auditions more selectively so that you show up and you freaking nail it and you're continuously making a good impression instead of just being exhausted, not actually working on any specific skills, and then you're doing shitty work in front of casting who actually would be the ones that are supposed to invite you in. This is about developing quality connections. You need to have some pride in your quality. And again, if you're complaining about how you can't afford to take the classes that move you to the next step, then we need to be more creative with how we're making money so it doesn't drain you. And that comes down to your self image and your self perception and what you think you're actually capable of. And if you're actually perpetuating cycles from earlier in your life that are keeping you stuck in a loop of victimhood or a loop of just never feeling good enough. Like this stuff, if you start peeling it back, why you're stuck in this hamster wheel of doom, it's probably going to connect pretty deep to some things that are a bit tender. Okay. And I don't mean to like poke and prod at these wounds in a way that's so aggressive um, that it makes me insensitive. I'm trying to be aggressive so that you can wake up and see how much control you actually have if you actually get to work to see what is running the show in your head and why is it causing you to choose to act like this version of you that is spinning their wheels. Okay? So all of this, I went back and forwards and sideways and all of this, kind of just speaking about different themes. We covered different ways that that artists are actually messing themselves up because of what they're telling themselves. And then we talked about how we need to stop, putting the blame outside of ourselves, even if it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, and I see you, and I know how challenging it is. But at the end of the day, if it's something you actually want, let's boil it down to this. Who are you choosing to be? Can you dial it back to understanding how just noticing how you're talking about things? You can even write a column on your piece of paper, right? Version of me now. How am I talking about these things? Line down the middle of the page. On the other side, version of me who already has the thing I want. And if you kind of start keeping tabs of how you find yourself talking about these subjects and these things that are very challenging for you, I want you to start seeing how maybe the choice of how you're looking at things, which is obviously validated by evidence around you. That's what makes some of this work hard is, well, because of course I feel this way. This is very challenging. Of course I'm pissed that Nepo babies are getting this. Of course I'm frustrated that I'm not making enough money at my flexible job. Of course I feel overwhelmed when I get, an audition while I'm on vacation. All of this, okay? But at the end of the day, the way to have the work trickle out and to actually become the person that has the thing you want, you have to start with how you're thinking and behaving now so that it's in alignment with the thing you want. Okay? Again, if I've just erupted something in you, something you haven't really thought about before. And this is actually something you want to get down the rabbit hole on. So you want to stop having these self-sabotaging thoughts and behaviors that might give you a sense of community with other artists, but you're realizing that you're meant for more. You're meant to be an artist that does this and can make money and make this work for you. Okay. I do want to recommend getting into the Inevitable Artist Activation. Okay. It's $30. It's going to change how you think. It's going to help you understand like what's blocking you, okay? Because unfortunately, our reality is a reflection of our internal world. It is on a delay and a lag of what we were previously choosing. Okay? That is actually what it is. And so if you're looking around at your life right now and it is not where you want to be and it is not the stuff that you were thinking you were going to be doing at this time, it's time to get clear on what about how you're speaking and acting about things is not helping you become who you know you're supposed to be. Okay. So check out the Inevitable Artist Activation. If you're like, I really, with this identity piece, and Sarah, you're kind of boiling it down to something way deeper. And wait, what do you mean? Like how I'm behaving here might just be a loop of my past, right? I know me personally for a long time. I was always just acting on this narrative that I was never good enough no matter what I did. So I would just have to work and work and work and work to prove and prove and prove that, maybe I can get someone to love me or someone to choose me. And it wasn't until I was actually doing this work with my business and with money and seeing, like, asking these self-worth questions that I'm talking about right now, that I was like, holy shit, I have been auditioning and operating from this just never ending place of never feeling good enough. And it has been keeping me stuck and keeping me in these patterns. Right. Like this is super deep. Like this is actually so much about my self perception and self image. If you're like, holy shit, no, wait, this is actually so real. And like, what do I do about it? That's why we have the Inner Circle membership. Okay. The Singer's Path Inner Circle is all about helping you take control of your own internal narrative so that it's an extension of the Inevitable Artist Activation. Okay. That is just a taste. Okay. If you're ready to kind of change how your brain's working and how you're thinking about things and actually see what's keeping you stuck, the Inevitable Artist Activation, that's just the appetizer, baby. The Singer's Path Inner Circle is where you actually do the neural rewiring so that you're noticing you're behaving in a certain way and you can pivot and change and actually work with your body and your brain and your nervous system out of the fight or flight, right? Out of panicking, out of continuing on loops that don't work. And you can learn to like actually change your external reality because you are tending to and shifting your internal world so that you're actually blossoming and blooming into the artistic life that you want. Okay. So that's what the Inner Circle membership does. It's a community of artists that are holding each other accountable through this process, and they're literally rewiring their brains. It uses neural manifestation, neuroplasticity. It uses nervous system techniques. It's incredible. Okay. So, anyway, if what I'm saying even just slightly delights you at all, okay, get your ass to the Inevitable Artist Activation. That's the appetizer, baby. See what that's like. See what's happening. That's going to give you a lot of information. And if you're ready to dive in and actually do something about it and really like legitimately shift and change your life so that you're no longer on this hamster wheel of doom, get into the Singer's Path Inner Circle, okay? I am obsessed with you. I love you. It's going to be okay, right? Like this, you deserve to have this happen, right? But you have to start noticing where you're actually mind fucking yourself out of getting the things you want. And it starts with with how you speak about things, your behavior, and it's going to boil down to like ultimately how you kind of feel about yourself. That's going to radiate everywhere. People feel you before they hear or see you. Before you walk into that audition room, they can feel and sense who you are as a person. Okay. So when you're working on this and you're seeing how this is affecting your life and your ability to make money and your ability to do the things you want, your ability to hold joy, people can sense that, right? This is all related. So if what I've said interests you at all, check out what I mentioned. If you love this podcast, please leave us a 5-star written review. We love to get this out to more people to help them to start asking these questions so we get good-hearted people, good-hearted artists, so we stop the Nepo babies from getting all the jobs, okay? But it starts with you and other artists who are good, talented people actually asking these questions so that we can change the system that is perpetually fucked up, okay? It's time. We need to interrupt it, but it starts with you and your internal narrative. You are so much more powerful than you think. I believe in you. I love you. And I can't wait to see you start to look inside so that you can change this narrative and make real impact in this world. All right. I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. This helps me get this information out to more artists all over the world. Let's work together to spread the joys of music. Until next time, I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, signing off from the Singer's Path podcast. Thanks for listening.